Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Roger Gilbert. I'm in the Rongo Rongo Live video studio reporting for Milling and Grain magazine, but also this time reporting for International Aquafeed magazine and title called International Pet Food. I have in the studio today none other than Joseph Kearns, and Joe Kearns, as he's regularly known throughout the industry, is an expert in extrusion technology, and extrusion technology has come of age. And we will be very happy to talk to Joe about some of the issues around getting that extrusion system right and the importance of it. But right now, let me introduce you to Joe. Welcome, Joe.
Roger, glad to be here. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks. You're early afternoon. I'm sitting here in the early evening, and we'll be watched by people all throughout the day. Joe, welcome to Rongo Rongo Live. As I said in my introduction, we have 3 magazines which all use extrusion technology, and you're quite an expert when it comes to this subject. And I'd just like to tell our viewers, before we get started, that you're also consulting in your own right now. You are working with Grand Fish Foods in Egypt as a consultant. You're also presenting on the online milling school through Credo, and you're the editor of the magazine International Pet Food. So quite something after you've retired from 42 years in full employment with Wenger Manufacturing.
Well, we're keeping a little bit busy, and I'm having a good time doing it, so let's continue.
Yeah. Well, as I've said, extrusion is a pretty important subject. And I just wonder if you could give us sort of an update. Has extrusion really come of age, or is it still in its growth stage?
Well, I would tell you it's amazing how much it's changed over my 42 years. And it seemed in the last 10 to hit some sort of exponential curve in terms of the abilities of what the machinery can do. And as a result, it seems like there's no bounds to what they seem to be able to develop. But it sure is getting quite exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, we noticed that it's being, obviously, your experience is greater, obviously greater than mine, but it's being used in all sorts of food processing. And most recently, which is interestingly enough, in plant-based foods that are coming onto the market now, extrusion is playing a very important role there as well in human foods.
That's actually been going on for 30, 40 years. When I first started, there was a lot of work done with regards to what was called textured soy protein. And it's evolved over the years to not only include some soy proteins, but wheat glutens and other cereals, and in some cases, actual meat sources as well, if it's not for a vegetarian purpose, to create some of these structures and meat-like substances that look just like meat.
Yeah. Well, what I was interested to talk to you about today was, are we getting the best out of our extruder?
The extrusion process consists of 4 main areas or topics you got to consider. 1 is the raw materials. 2 is the actual equipment configuration, or how it's set up, all the screws and parts and related devices that are on the machine. How you operate the machine, and then obviously the final product specifications. And within that realm, you can develop a lot of potential problems. Mainly, it starts with the specifications part of it. Is it the right density? Does it float, sink for aquatic feeds? Does it have a lot of fines? Is the shape perfect? There's all kinds of criteria. What's the fat levels, etc., in the final product specifications, which are somewhat dictated initially by a nutritionist or somebody within the area of the raw materials. Obviously, there's a lot of different extruders out there with a lot of different ways to make products. And basically, with regards to the extruder, it's the moisture inputs, the steam inputs, the mechanical energy inputs when you run the actual machinery. And sometimes just changing those gives you enough modification to the process to get the product you're after. In other words, you solved your problem. Obviously, computers help greatly in reproducible results from extruders, but there's a lot of them out there and they're still manual. So obviously, things have to be considered. And just looking at those individual areas briefly, One, the system configuration. Do you have the right preconditioner to make a high-fat pet food, or have a highly expanded product, or be able to get the cook you want in that phase before you drop into the extruder barrel, which either twin or single or whatever, they all have different parts in there. Each part is designed to do certain things. One, mainly is convey, move it forward. Two, mix or give it some kneading, and then the final cooking. So arranging those parts correctly based on the formulation that you have to get the final specs you're after within the running conditions ability of the extruder, that's what this topic is about.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, and it could be as simple as making the knife adjustment right to reduce fines. But a lot of times it's some minor thing that can be overcome if your equipment has the ability to do it easily. But if not, we go over what do you need to do if you have to do it manually. How do you get more cook if you don't have a variable speed main drive motor and things like that. So it gets quite involved, but we're going to try to do this in a way that it covers everybody that is interested in it, no matter what kind of machine they may potentially have. Because the science of extrusion is virtually the same over all these different machines. It's just a matter of making the right determination what to do to get what you're after.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I'm sure you're referring to the online milling school, because we deal with there, and I'm a moderator, you're the expert when it comes to that, but we're dealing with not only animal feed and fish feed, but now we are proposing to run our first pet food series or course. Are you excited to look forward to that around pet food?
Well, pet food it's very exciting. Probably it's looked at more closely in terms of its specifications than you would for an aquatic feed, for example. The guy says it floats, sinks, the right diameter. Okay, good, let's continue. Versus you're dealing with people that buy the pet food because of its look, its appearance. It's got 3 colors. It's perfectly shaped. It's got a filling inside. And there's a lot of exciting things that can happen with pet foods that you don't see in a traditional commodity style feed sector like aquatic feed. So and obviously that's what differentiates these competitors from one another. Is the formula, the nutrition, the shape, the size, the attractability of this piece for the pet owners who buy the product. So it's unique. It's a more unique industry in that regard.
Yeah, and I know you've introduced this topic called troubleshooting in the aqua sessions. What sort of response are you getting to that?
Well, I think it's been quite interesting. It'd be really if it gets to the point where people start sending in questions, that's when it'll really get exciting. But we have to, make assumptions of everything I've seen in my career. What problems are the ones that are normally out there, and we basically just kind of started that, but we're going to continue and kind of go through the different situations the guy may get into that he needs to look at.
And you just mentioned there your career is widespread around the globe, in fact. Do you find similarities that join extruder operators together on a global sense? Are they all sort of dealing with similar problems and similar issues?
I would say, in a general sense, yes, they are. If there are problems, obviously, there's a lot of it is formulation related. When you start moving around the globe, the base ingredients in one area may not be the same thing you would see in some other areas. So there's some of that goes along, and then they have different products they want to make. So just within the idea of what a pet food or product should be like in a different part of the world results in different aspects. Yes.
And what would you say are the 2 primary reasons for attending one of these courses that is offered by the online milling school?
Well, for me, there's a number of them. I always thought that if a guy was interested in getting into this industry, he ought to figure out what he's putting his money up for. And it's amazing how many people over the years you meet that invested in this technology only because they knew it was a good way to make money, but really they had no idea what they were getting into yet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one. The other one is obviously factory workers or managers that want to have a better feel for what's going on in their plant, to tell employees what to do, or employees that are interested in advancing their careers by understanding more than what they're getting just from being there by the machinery. If they want to understand it more, this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, and the online milling school is running 12 weeks in one course. It starts in one in February and one in March. The aqua one starts on February 22nd and runs for 12 weeks. The feed one starts on March 8th and runs for 12 weeks. And the pet food one, well, we'll have to announce that, Joe, because we haven't fixed the dates yet. But but I'm sure you and I are both looking forward to welcoming attendees on all three courses. And but like you say, it's going to make it well worthwhile for them.
Well, it'll be interesting and hopefully worthwhile, because we're going to try to cover all the bases from receiving raw materials all the way through to shipping them out the door.
Yeah. Well, Joe, we'll see a lot more of you on the online milling school. That's www.onlinemillingschool.com. Go there and look at the programs and sign up. And we would like to welcome all of you on one of the courses this first part of this year. But Joe, thank you very much for spending time with us. Continue your working career. It's changed direction slightly, but more power to you. And thank you for joining us today on the Rongo Rongo Live video studio.
My pleasure, Roger. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay. Bye for now, Joe.
Okay. Goodbye.